I'm Donna Blanchard, and this is your ThinkTech News for Wednesday, October 7th, 2015. Aligned with Hezbollah, Iran, and Russia, the Syrian army began a ground offensive against rebel forces in northern Hama province, and the Kremlin reports it has fired 26 cruise missiles on Syrian targets from naval vessels in the Caspian Sea. Russian officials say their missiles targeted ISIS, but Western officials say the great majority of their attacks have been directed against rebel groups fighting President Bashar al-Assad's army, as the offensive aims to retake areas gained in the spring by the insurgent coalition, the Army of Conquest. According to an official with the alliance, the ground operation will eventually include new contingents of fighters from Hezbollah, a Shiite militia, as well as the current configuration of Syrian forces backed by Russians in the air, and it's expected the Iranian military will join their advisors already on the ground. President Obama called Dr. Joanne Liu the president of Doctors Without Borders and apologized for the bombing of a hospital in Kunduz, Afghanistan that killed doctors and patients last weekend. Josh Earnest, the White House press secretary, told reporters the apology didn't come earlier because the White House was not prepared to make comments while 3 separate investigations were continuing. The president chose to make the apology after testimony given to a congressional committee by General John F. Campbell on Tuesday, during which he admitted that the airstrike that killed 22 people was a result of a U.S. decision. President Obama promised Ms. Liu, a transparent, thorough, and objective accounting of the incident, and that he would make any changes necessary to ensure that such incidents were less likely in the future. There is no word on whether that apology will be enough for Doctors Without Borders, which has pressed for an independent investigation, calling the hospital bombing a war crime. Thomas Lindahl, Paul Modric, and Aziz Sankar were awarded the Nobel Prize for Chemistry in Sweden today for their work mapping and explaining how the cell repairs its DNA and safeguards its genetic information. A statement from the Royal Swedish Academy of Sciences says their systematic work has made a decisive contribution to the understanding of how the living cell functions, as well as providing information and knowledge about the molecular causes of several hereditary diseases and about mechanisms behind both cancer development and aging. It's hoped that this will help guide the design of new cancer drugs. At the end of this month, U.S. federal prisons will begin releasing roughly 6,000 inmates who were given harsh sentences for nonviolent drug offenses in the 80s and 90s. Approximately a third of the inmates are undocumented immigrants who will be deported because many of them were convicted of significant legal offenses. It's doubted that President Obama will suffer any criticism from those who have objected to deportations in the past. The release, one of the largest in U.S. history, coincides with an intensifying bipartisan effort to ease the mass incarcerations that followed decades of tough sentencing for drug offenses, which have taken a particularly harsh toll on minority communities. Jessalyn McCurdy, a senior legislative counsel at the ACLU, said, "Far too many people have lost years of their lives to draconian sentencing laws born of the failed drug war. We are overjoyed that some of the people so wronged will get their freedom back." Donna Blanchard, ThinkTech News.